Hello, this is Stewart, and I wanted to post today. It's very soon coming upon the 1-year anniversary that our son Brandon Stewart passed away. The anniversary date is August 22nd, which is Sunday. So I just felt on my heart, I wanted to give you a tribute to him, as well as how I've made it through the year. And so you'll notice the cross that I have beside me. What we're going to do is probably go up Saturday and the spot where he actually was killed and where the vigil was. We're going to have this, and we invite anybody that's up in the area. If you are by there, there's a place to leave a memory if you would like to come, or if you just want to text me something of a memory, that would be great too. But we just wanted to kind of use this opportunity, and I want to thank all of you that know Brandon, know that he was passionate about tattoos. And so we asked his graphic artist that did many tattoos on him, Frank, and I want to thank you, Frank, for helping us with the lettering, and he even said that this special lettering that he put on Brandon is something that Brandon liked, so he knew exactly what Brandon liked. So we wanted just to honor him in that way, and so we'll be going up Saturday, and then we'll be going up Sunday afternoon to that spot. The place is in Norwalk. Some of you that went to the vigil, you would remember it, but it's at the corner of Imperial and Orenday, which is the parking lot for Stater Brothers that you would see, and so it won't be hard to find it if you're coming up. I was thinking of some of the memories of Brandon. He was 33 years old when he passed. He was soon to be 34. And I thought of a few things that was definitely him. For those of you that knew him well, you knew that he would speak his mind. And if you ask him to be truthful about something, he'd tell you what he thought. Sometimes it got him in trouble, but he would speak his mind. And I think in all, there's a lot of people that kind of appreciated his honesty for that. One of the other things I always think about that I laugh sometimes is he had the most beautiful smile. I mean, he had a radiant smile, but the challenge was to get it on camera. You could not get it on camera. He'd have this dumb little grin, and it's like, come on, Brandon, give me that smile. So you had to find him almost in real life, just having a joyous moment, and he had a beautiful smile. One of the other things that I think of him, we were so privileged even after he passed away to go up to where he worked at the place was called Killer Merch. It was a cosmetic company of Jeffree Star, and we were allowed to go through the places where he worked and where he set up things, and he was in charge of a lot. And it just amazed me how he was really quite the businessman that I didn't know that he was fully. And to be able to talk even to some of the employees and how to see that he cared for his employees was really, really good for my heart to know down deep really who Brandon was. And I think the last memory that I think of is the last time we saw Brandon. Larry and I saw Brandon. He came to our house. He was on his motorcycle. He had a part that he had just ordered and he wanted to change. And so I remember it was kind of early evening, and so we sat out in front of the house, and I just sat there and watched as Larry and him, they'd get on the ground and try to get this thing to fix and work, and they weren't able to accomplish it, but it was kind of just a special time. And before he left, I remember Brandon grabbed me and he hugged me, and we both exchanged "I love you." He did that to his dad as well. And that was kind of irregular because usually I was the one to initiate it, but this time he was. And that was the last time that we saw him. And sometimes later I would look at that spot and it would kind of grab my heart that it was kind of hard to look at that spot in front of our house. But then I feel it was as if God talked to my heart, and he said, now, Ladine, was that a positive experience that you had? And I said, yes, Lord, it was. And he said, okay, take that as a gift. And so now when I look at it, I think of it as a special gift. And so that really warms my heart. You know, this year has been quite a year. Through the pandemic, here Brandon passes away. And when I kind of reflected on a little bit of when I first got the call from concerning Brandon, and obviously it's first shock, and after a few things of just, you know, sounds coming out of me that just only a person going through that would find. Because of my relationship with God, I was honest with God. And I told him, I said, God, I've got some questions that I don't have answers to, but I threw my arms up and I said, but I trust you. And when I look back over this year's time, I think that was a pivotal time, that it took me on a different route and a different road. That when I say the word peace, words can't describe what I'm talking about. You almost have to experience it to know what that peace has meant. And there's been so many times, even times when I've grieved, the Lord has had people prepared around me to help me through that time. It's been absolutely amazing. And so as I've gone through this year, I've said, Lord, you have been the sustainer. And I just can't say enough how much that peace has been. When I reflect on Brandon's funeral, some of you know that I read a personal letter that Brandon wrote. He had gone through a time period about 4 years prior, and he loved to write. In fact, he even told me to come by the house, and he was going through a time period where he was really reaching out to God, and he was trying to figure out what is going on in his life. And so he wrote this letter because he just seemed to be able to communicate it better. And so I'm so glad he did, because now I have it forever. But I won't read all of the letter because it's quite lengthy, but I kept going back, even as sharing this to you today, I kept going back to this part, and I'll tell you why. Here's part of his letter as he's reaching out to God. He says, I now know it's time to let my guard down and accept God and accept you and Dad's love fully. Please forgive me and let's start a better relationship. And as I've reflected on those words and how that he himself, even in the previous part of the letter, he talked about how he battled so much this constantly in his life, and it led him to do some things that he now realized wasn't so healthy. But as I was praying and just thinking of this as a mother's heart, I can't tell you how many people came up after the funeral that were his age group and said, you know what, when you read that letter, I identified with it. I connected with it. And so in my heart, I'm seeing, I really honestly feel like there has been an attack. Because if there is a God, there is an opposing force. And that opposing force, I believe, has struck so hard on this generation to do the battle in the mind, the battle in the heart, confusion, fear. There's so much that has come on. But I am telling you, there is a way to God. And you know, one thing about God, he can take your questions. He can take your honesty. He says, just come to me like you are. If you have questions, give them to me. And my admonition to you in reflecting on Brandon and so many of his friends and those of this generation, call out to God. Say, God, I want to know if there's truth. I want to know if you're real. What do you mean in my heart? What are my gifts and callings that I can be real? And that's what I wanted to express today. Let him in. Let your honesty come in. Let the fullness of what he wants. One thing about Brandon, he didn't get to heaven just because he belonged to Larry and I as a family. He got there because he chose God. There were so many times Brandon would call me sometimes in a really hard situation. And he'd call me and say, and I'd say, let me pray with you, son. And I remember on more than one occasion, I said, Brandon, if you ever find yourself in a place where you can't call me, you call on God. Little did I know that situation would arise. And so I feel confident in my heart that he called on God. In fact, there's so many people that I so trust that hear the voice of God. And one of the common things that I hear every time, they have told me that they would say, God, where is Brandon? And here's the words I would hear. God said, I got him. I got him. So I just know that he's made the right choice. He's in a happy place. And, but I just want to say to you, in this generation, don't let the time go by without inviting God to say, God, what do you want for my life? Because it'll come from the inside out. And when it comes from the inside out, you don't have to pretend. You don't have to act like a Christian. It'll just come. And so I just wanted to have that tribute to Brandon, to God. And I want to say that the Lord has put such a love within my heart for this generation. And I believe God wants to say something through this generation. He told me last Sunday, he says, I have a sound that I want to produce from this generation. And so I want to be part of it. I love you. And I want to say, I love you, Brandon, and I miss you, but I also love this generation. So for that, I'll say goodbye. I love you.